On a freezing winter night, when the wind howled like a warning no one wanted to hear, Daniel Carter pulled his worn coat tighter around his chest and quickened his pace through the dimly lit street. The city had long since gone quiet, its people tucked away in warm homes, leaving behind only the echoes of distant traffic and the occasional flicker of a broken street lamp. Daniel wasn't poor, but life hadn't been generous to him either. He worked long hours at a small repair shop, barely making enough to keep his modest apartment and send a little money back to his aging mother. That night, exhaustion weighed heavily on him, and all he wanted was to get home, drink something warm, and forget the cold. But fate had other plans. As he turned a corner, he noticed a figure sitting on the sidewalk, barely visible under the weak light. The man looked fragile, almost like a shadow about to disappear. His clothes were thin, his hands trembling uncontrollably, and his breath formed faint clouds in the icy air. Daniel slowed down, his instincts telling him to keep walking. After all, he had his own struggles, but something deeper, something human, stopped him. He hesitated, then stepped closer. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. The stranger looked up, his eyes dull yet pleading, and whispered, "Just cold." That single word hit Daniel harder than anything else. Without thinking twice, he removed his coat, the only real protection he had against the biting wind, and gently placed it over the man's shoulders. The stranger looked shocked, as if kindness was something he had long forgotten existed. "You'll freeze," the man murmured. Daniel forced a small smile. "I'll manage." And with that, he walked away into the cold, his body shivering but his heart strangely warm. That simple act, done without expectation or witness, should have ended there. But life has a way of circling back. The next morning, Daniel woke up with a slight fever. The cold he had endured the previous night had taken its toll, but he couldn't afford to miss work. When he arrived at the repair shop, his boss handed him an unexpected note. It was an invitation to fix equipment at a large corporate office downtown, a rare opportunity that promised good pay. Daniel, though weak, accepted immediately. He needed the money. Later that day, he arrived at the towering building, feeling out of place among the polished floors and sharply dressed employees. As he worked quietly on a malfunctioning copier, he couldn't shake the feeling that something unusual was about to happen. Suddenly, a group of executives entered the room, and among them was a man who seemed oddly familiar. Clean-shaven, dressed in an expensive suit, and carrying an air of authority, he was the complete opposite of the fragile stranger from the night before, yet those eyes. Daniel froze. The man looked directly at him, recognition flashing instantly. It was him. The same man he had given his coat to. The room fell silent as the man approached Daniel slowly, his gaze unwavering. The employees watched in confusion, unsure what was happening. Then, to everyone's surprise, the man extended his hand. "You probably don't recognize me like this," he said with a faint smile, "but I recognize you." Daniel stammered, unsure of what to say. The man turned to the others and said, "This is the person who helped me last night, when I needed it the most." The whispers began immediately. It turned out the man was none other than the CEO of the company, a wealthy but private individual known for occasionally walking the streets at night to observe life beyond his corporate world. But that night, things had gone wrong. His car had broken down, his phone had died, and for the first time in years, he had felt truly helpless. And in that moment, when no one else stopped, Daniel had. The CEO's expression softened as he continued, "You gave me your coat without knowing who I was. Without expecting anything in return. That kind of kindness is rare, and powerful." Daniel felt overwhelmed, his mind struggling to process everything. He hadn't done it for recognition or reward. He had simply acted on instinct. But what came next changed his life forever. The CEO offered him a permanent position within the company, not just as a technician, but as a supervisor, with a salary far beyond anything Daniel had ever imagined. "We don't just need skilled workers," the CEO said. "We need good people." Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes as he realized how a single moment of compassion had opened a door he never even knew existed. In the weeks that followed, Daniel's life transformed in ways he could never have predicted. He moved into a better apartment, ensured his mother received proper care, and finally felt a sense of stability he had longed for. But more importantly, he never forgot the lesson that had brought him there, that even the smallest act of kindness can ripple outward in unimaginable ways. He began helping others whenever he could, paying forward the compassion that had changed his life. And every winter, without fail, he carried an extra coat with him, just in case someone else needed it. This story is a powerful reminder that kindness doesn't require wealth, status, or perfect timing. Sometimes, all it takes is a simple decision to care. You never know whose life you might change, or how it might come back to change yours. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of humanity, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful stories that can change perspectives, and maybe even change lives.